back to the show. Sorry about that. We've had technical difficulties tonight on the crew with Spreaker.com, but we're trying. So here we are back again discussing religion. We talked to Ken about Buddhism. We've talked with David about Christianity, but I did have a couple questions to David before I move on to myself. David, I wanted to ask you one question, really. Are you a Christian? I asked you before, are you a Christian because that's how you were raised, etc. Are you afraid not to be a Christian?
Oh, absolutely not.
Whoa. Sorry. No, that wasn't a response to the question. There's like some
I was like, really?
feedback.
There's gun oil all over the keypad.
Oh, shut up. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're okay. All right. So go ahead. Yeah. So absolutely not. Is that all you wanted to say?
Well, I think no, I'm not. I don't think it's something that I personally believe in. Is not specifically to religion. I believe Christianity, even if you take away the supernatural aspect of it, Christianity is a way to live, be good to people, to help people who can't afford to eat, help people when they're sick, help people when they're sick and shut in.
Yes.
So I think it's a way to live life, and it's kind of, it has some of the good properties of Christianity, because I know there's good and bad in every religion, because people twist it that way.
Yeah.
It has similarities to Buddhism, to where you're supposed to live a life to where you're evolving. And I think when you evolve in Christ, you become closer in Christ into what He stood for, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people really have to look really closely at what they're believing in Christianity. And we were talking before we came back online about Old Testament, New Testament, and I'm not. Is that a theologist? That was they call it, the person who said.
Yeah,
I'm not a theologist, so I'm not going to claim to know every answer and all the ins and outs of the Bible, because I don't. But I can say is a lot of that stuff was done in the Old Testament. And not in the New Testament.
So does that mean the Old Testament doesn't count, the new one does?
Oh, and we've upset the Jewish crowd. Be careful.
Exactly, because
Throw out the books of Moses, and this will go straight to hell.
Because I've heard some preachers say, because remember in the Old Testament, you used to have to go to a man to talk to God, just like the Catholics. I'm not going to say anything about Catholicism, but that's still their belief, that you have to go through a man to be forgiven by God. But that's all Old Testament. That has nothing to do. God came back, He died, He rose again, and made it a personal relationship between us and God. So
okay, I'm trying to bite my tongue. Okay, well, that's great. Good for Jesus.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you, Donovan. Don't bite that tongue. Tell us where you stand on the religion, how you evolved, and all that.
Well, I started out Southern Baptist. My mom, my grandmother, both of whom I lived with most of my life, were raising me as that. My grandmother was much more religious than my mother. My mother didn't believe in God. It's just she didn't really believe in religion that much. And so we would go to church, and I'd go to vacation Bible school and things like that because it was fun. It had nothing to do with what I was learning. But I would sit there in the pews, 8 years old, and listen to the stupid preacher talk about how this is wrong and this is right and blah, 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 and you're evil and this person is disgusting, this person needs to go to hell, blah, 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 and pass judgment on everybody else but himself. And actually say that, the only way to get to heaven is to be a Christian or to be Baptist and to believe in God, blah, blah, blah. So all the crap that you're fed in church. And I was like, whatever. I didn't believe any of it. And even at 8 years old, I didn't trust him. When I said I didn't believe him, I had this distrust of this man and the distrust of this institution, of any institution that would tell me how to think. And it's just something that's innate in me. And so I decided to decide for myself what to believe. And so I would ask my grandmother questions, and she would say, well, when you die, you lay in the grave, and then your soul rises when Jesus comes back and resurrects everybody. So I said, so I just lay there in a box until he comes back. When's that going to be? And I'm like asking her how long I have to sit in the box. And she's like, I don't know, honey. It could be any day. It could be hundreds of years. And I'm like, wow. So, well, I don't know what to do with fuck about it. Okay. Anyway, so So I would go on and on about how I didn't believe in it. And I started to study the Bible on my own, a children's version of the Bible. And then I graduated to the adult version as I got older. Hold on a second. Let's see if that helps. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Hello?
I'm trying to listen in.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. But
Okay.
I'm not hearing you on the podcast.
You're not hearing me at all on the podcast now?
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're echo-free, lover.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
So, anywho, I went on reading the Bible on my own, front to back, and decided for myself that it was all a bunch of hoo-ha at about 13, 14 years old, and that all of it was just to control people. I believed that then, I believe that now. I believe organized religion is about controlling the masses. It's always been about that since the beginning of Catholicism and before Catholicism, Presbyterianism, and the Church of England, blah, blah, blah. I could go on and on and on. The Crusades were a horrible time in Christian history that I absolutely believe is no different than it is today, except today we used to go and killing people. We just do it with the law. So my point is that I've never, ever been a proponent of Christianity per se, or any religion, whether it's not Muslim, but Islamic religions, Judaism, I should say, Catholicism, or any sect of Christianity. I don't believe in any of it. I find it all to be hoo-ha, and that's just my personal opinion. Now, when people believe in it, that's their thing, but I found incredibly intelligent people who are very, very highly religious people as well, and highly Christian people. So it's not about intelligence level. To me, it's about proof, and it's about what is real. Now, you look at the Bible, I look at the Bible, and I see it as a source of history to some degree. Do I believe it's factual? 100% no. I believe that it's, as David said, a book of fables, a book of things to learn lessons by. You said
parables and
you said metaphors.
Metaphor. Well, hello. A
Fables
fable
just sounds so bad.
A fable is
parables,
a fable.
Stories, parables, and things.
A fable is just a story to teach
Fable
a lesson.
sounds like a story tale, like a fairy tale.
Well, it is a fairy tale.
Sometimes it comes with little puppets that you can use.
But anyway, that's just it, David. I think it is all a fairy tale. So I use the word fable because to me it is not real. I don't believe Noah, some man had this huge boat and gathered all the animals, or God did or whatever, and put them on the boat, and he survived this big ass storm that destroyed the whole fucking world, and then everybody repopulated the earth, and then somebody lived for 900 years, Adam or whatever. I don't believe any of the crap, the Garden of Eden and all this stuff. I don't believe in any of this stuff. I also don't believe in the Judaism when they talk about women, how women should not be able to to preach or whatever, they be a rabbi or whatever. I don't believe in Islamic religion when they're supposed to be able to have all these wives. And there's a lot of things that they said happened and what they did, the miracles performed or whatever. I don't believe it. It's just me. I don't believe it. Now, does that mean I have absolutely no faith in something? No. And I'll tell you why. I struggle with my intellect, or I should use the word rational thinking, versus what a Bible or the Quran or the Torah may say is true. And because when I look at those things, one makes sense and one doesn't. So I've expelled those out of my thought. And I've researched many religions through comparative religion courses and classes when I was in college and things like that. And just on my own, I was into Kabbalah for a while when Madonna was into it, of course, and I looked into that. I thought maybe this is a great religion. It sounded great. Looked into it, a bunch of hoo-ha, just like everything else. So I am very open to exploring any kind of religious religion, whatever it may be. But the thing is, as I've researched them all on my own so much already, that I've come to my own conclusions about each one. So if I sound very, what's the word, aggressive or whatever about my disdain for them, it's because I am. Because, as David said, they have a great deal of good about them, yes, but they also have a great deal of evil. And just like anything else, you can use it for good or you can use it for evil, for positive or negative forces.
Absolutely.
And so with religion, it's no different. But
people do that, not
yeah,
the religion itself or Christianity. People
yeah, but you have to
that.
believe in the religion. That's the other thing I wanted to make a point about.
There's a lot of people who don't believe, and they still use that to create all this craziness in the world.
No, that's the point I wanted to make, though, is that the reason I don't believe in any religion, specifically one religion at all, is because for me, in I don't care if it's the people or what, I'm talking about the religion itself. The books that you use as your guides, whether it's a Bible, Quran, Torah, whatever. When you use these books or these texts to dictate the dogma for your behavior, which I obviously do not agree with anyway, I find it to be something like, if you don't believe in something 100%, then I can't believe in it at all. That's just the way I am made. So it's like, when we have a president, for example, just as a tiny example, if we have a president, Obama, right? He's a great president. I like him a lot. And I think, he's great for the most part. But there's some things he's done that I don't believe in it at all. And so I just if I had to say, would I suggest he be a president again? No, because he's done things I think are abhorrent in his using drones and things to kill people, etc. So I don't believe in him. So when it comes to Christianity or any other religion, there's the books, I'm trying to be nice here. I'm sorry. The books are a bunch of hoo-ha to me. So since I can't believe in it 100%, I can't believe in it at all. So that is the religious and how people believe in it. And the things that you believe in, David, the things that that Ken believes in, the things that anybody believes in, is all your doing and your choice, and that's fine. And you are pious or whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? You're devoted to your religions, and that's great. But I am somebody who is an anti-religion. I will absolutely say 100% I do not believe in it. And it's been used too much to kill people and to control people. So now, today, what do I believe? Today, I believe this. I believe, and this is what I've come to the conclusion by studying, I'm so sorry to cough. It's studying various religions throughout time here, since I was about 13, 14 years old, specifically, all the way up through college and everything to now, is that I've come to my own conclusions about what the truth is. I think that the truth being whatever the truth is in terms of the cosmos, it lies somewhere between all religions. I think there's a grain of truth in all of them. I think in Christianity and Buddhism and Judaism or the Islamic faith, there is some sort of grain of truth in all of them, and there's commonality between them.
Not the Scientologists, though.
Even the Scientologists, the fucking crazy people.
I was being funny.
Tom Cruise just hung up on us, guys.
So, yeah, even, but my point is like, just because it's not something I believe in doesn't mean that it doesn't have a grain of truth to it and have some things that are positive about it. So, for me, I feel that we do live a life, and I think there is a higher power or a greater being or whatever. I don't call him or her it whatever God. I call it, I don't know, the universe or whatever, because for me to imagine that a god, if you want to put it that way, would be some man sitting on a throne with a long white beard and with angels flying around him and overlooking all of us and looks like a human being. And I don't think God looks like anything. To me, God is everything, is everywhere, and is in every part of us, in every cell, every being. And is light, is love, is warmth, is knowledge, is everything. And so to me, that's what God is. And so I believe in the Big Bang Theory, which says that the Earth exploded from one tiny particle. I'm not the Earth, the universe, all of them, and exploded, and it's continuing to expand. And I believe that. But what happened before that? Who set that off? What happened to set that off? Well, something had to. Matter doesn't just, one thing about physics or whatever is you can't create or destroy matter or energy. So because of that, something had to have created that first particle. And then what created that guy or that person or that thing? What created that? What created that? So my point is, I don't fucking know what the hell truth is. I'm just saying that I feel in my being that we are not all there is, that there is more. I feel it in a connection through love, which obviously could be just chemicals in my brain. I feel it through psychic ability that I possess to some degree, and I've seen in other people. I feel it in my heart, my soul. I don't know how else to explain it. I know that we're all connected with something. And if you want to call that God, then you can call it God. And so I believe in past lives as well. I believe that we come here and we live again and live again so that we can evolve spiritually until we no longer need to evolve anymore. I believe aliens exist. How do you explain aliens in religion? How do you explain that? And the reason that religions don't mention it, like especially the old ones, is because they had no concept of aliens because it was all made up.
You've never seen an alien, though.
Have you not seen one either?
But I'm saying you're using the same justification for believing in aliens to go against Christianity because they don't explain it.
No, that's not true. There's plenty of evidence that aliens exist. There's not plenty of
Where's
evidence.
your evidence?
Oh, do you really want to have a discussion about science? Because I don't think you're going to win. Christian boy.
Regardless whether I win or not, it's still my belief, and I can disagree with what you're saying.
It's not that you're disagreeing, though. It's that this is what I'm trying to say to you.
But where's the evidence? There's no real concrete evidence about that aliens have existed.
There is evidence, and the evidence is that. Shut the fuck up and let me talk, and I'll tell you.
Where?
The evidence is. Show me where God exists. Show me that.
God exists in my heart.
I don't
need to prove
have
it to
aliens.
nobody.
I don't have aliens in my heart, but I know that they exist.
You do.
I know that they exist. Just like you feel God exists or whatever. But I'm not saying that. Look, David, you want proof that aliens exist, then give me proof that God exists.
But you're using the same thing. You're missing what you're missing.
No,
what
I'm not,
saying.
because I'm going to give you the evidence. The evidence is this: is that when you use science to actually prove something, a theory, and what you're proving is that it's commonality, or the commonality of things repeating in science, or that it's not science, but in the universe. And so if you actually are proving something in science, like if you want to prove God with science, you can't prove God with science because God doesn't exist the way that he exists in the Bible. If you prove God exists in terms of how I was mentioning him, in terms of energy or whatever, you can prove God exists. It depends on what you look at God as being. When I talk about aliens, when you have the preponderance of universes that we have, the multiverses we have, the billions and billions and billions and billions, which is completely beyond our imagination, and that number, of universes in this galaxy and in other galaxies, that we on this planet are the only intelligent life form is not feasible.
But that's in theory. That's not proof.
So is God. God's a theory.
Okay, but so you're doing the same thing.
No, I'm not using the same thing. Because I'm not saying that I believe that God is. I'm not saying that I believe aliens are God. I'm not saying that.
No, you're. Never mind.
But
you're
that brings
missing
me
what
to
I'm
a really
saying.
good question. That brings me to a really good question for the both of you. So would you, Donovan, think that there's some thought behind ancient astronaut theories that maybe aliens have visited in the past, like the History Channel show? I mean, is that something that you would consider more feasible than the Bible, or?
No. No, because what I'm saying is that just, when you look at something like you're talking about, like ancient astronauts or whatever, maybe existing, or like maybe the Egyptians saying they saw aliens or whatever, to me, that's no more valid than what's written in the Bible. Someone saying they saw something. It doesn't mean anything. It's what's proven through science and what's probability that makes difference. So what my point is like David approaches his religion through faith. And that's all it is in my mind, in my eye, is faith. Whereas when I look at science is not about faith. It's about proof about something existing, or the probability of it existing or not existing. And so that's what I'm trying to say, David, is like when we're talking about comparing whether aliens exist or whether God exists, you're talking about two very distinctly different things. But you can still use the same terminology, the same science to prove whether they exist or not. So if you can't
come up with the same conclusion, we don't really know. There's a possibility.
Nobody knows. I don't know God exists or not. That's what I'm saying.
And I'm applying the same thought process to aliens. It's possible. I can accept that there's a possibility that aliens exist. I'm not. Yeah, but you're not naive to not that there aren't.
I'm not saying that aliens exist as a god or a deity. I'm saying the question wasn't even about that. The question was. No,
you said that. Why doesn't the Bible explain aliens? Like we have concrete evidence that there's aliens.
Why doesn't the Bible explain the internet? It's the same question.
There's stuff in the Bible about the internet. There's stuff in the Bible about using fake money.
Show me where it is.
I'll have to find it for you, but
Please
I know it's
do.
in the
That's
same
the
passage.
most bullshit I've ever heard.
No, it's in Revelation. It's in the same passage where they start talking about not using paper money as a form of currency, as a
the apocalyptic sort of
it's on that same it's that same passage.
Where does it say internet in the Bible?
It doesn't
say internet.
Exactly. And you know why it doesn't say internet? Because everything in religion...
They didn't have the vocabulary then.
Exactly. It's right. And everything in religion is all proven by what you said earlier about what I was saying about aliens. It's about theory. And so if you're going to look at your religion and say that you look at that particular verse or whatever in Revelations and say that it somehow applies to the internet, somebody else can look at that same exact thing and say that's bullshit. It has nothing to do with the internet.
Like
It's
the
you're just
Nostradamus.
interpreting it or something, and that's
like
what all
that.
religion
Yeah.
is interpretation of a book or a text. That's why we have Methodists and Presbyterians and Baptists, etc., that are all Christian.
I know that, but my point was when you said about the aliens and there wasn't in there, then you could discount the Bible because aliens weren't in the Bible.
Yeah.
My mama doesn't think the dinosaurs, I told you this before, she doesn't think the dinosaurs walked the earth. We have scientific proof that dinosaurs did walk the earth.
But you
They were
believe
big-
you
were
believe
big
they
lizard
existed.
bastards. Yeah.
Pardon me?
But you believe they existed.
I do, yes.
Yeah, but your mother doesn't because. But why does she think
she's
that?
doubtful.
Why is she doubtful?
Because of her
Because
Bible.
that's her. Yeah,
Because
that's
of her religion.
Her
Exactly.
interpretation of her
Exactly.
religion.
Right.
And that's the main thing I guess I have the issue with, and that's all I'm trying to get at. I'm sorry we got heated there, but I really
didn't get
feel yes, you did, but whatever. I feel that people who don't use logic, and that's the point I was getting at about aliens or about us not being alone or whatever the case may be in this universe, is that people who are religious oftentimes, that's what I was trying to say earlier, even it doesn't matter how intelligent they are or whatever, they abandon their reason for their faith. And even though there's evidence, as you said, of there being dinosaurs, there's scientific proof that they existed when they were here, etc., and that human beings did not exist or coexist at the same time. Even though there's proof of all this, someone who has a deeply abiding faith in their faith, their religious belief system, will still abandon their reason, their rational thinking, to believe in their faith. And that is the problem that I have. I'm not saying your mother is a horrible person for that, or anybody. Like my husband believes that freaking Noah existed and all that shit. I'm like, what the fuck ever. But anyway, he thinks that too. And it's the same thing as your mom in some way. So it doesn't make them bad people or stupid or anything else. It just makes me irritated when people use religion to overcome rational thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. And so that's why I don't believe in it, because people, if you can believe in something and still have rational logical thinking and still have proof or whatever, that's fine. And if you have proof that Jesus Christ walked the earth and he was here, and all the things that he said he did or whatever, other than just anecdotal evidence, then prove it. That's great. Fine. Then I'll believe it. But if you don't have that, then to actually say that it's true is just, to me, mind-boggling. That's all.
Well, I'd like to interject
Sure.
a quote that I will probably misparaphrase, but let me see if I can remember it. For a true believer, no evidence is necessary. For a non-believer, no evidence is ever enough. That's sort of
I've heard that many times.
Yeah. Did I say it right then? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's something that I like about Buddhism, is because about this sect of Buddhism, not the provisional teachings, but the sect in Buddhism, I mean, it's provable. It's like everything is provable. Like the fact that it's centered around the lotus flower, that in order for the lotus flower to bloom and to grow, it has to grow in filth, and it has to grow in like mud and swamp. And the thicker the mud, the more beautiful the bloom. And that's relevant in, I mean, it's obvious in front of us, but it's also very similar to our own human experiences, that we, like the lotus flowers, have to grow through the mud and the thickness and the nastiness. And it's how we grow through it that determines our beauty. And also the fact that it's provable for the lotus to bloom and seed at the same time, like instantly at the same time, illustrating cause and effect. And just like us, we're all trying to bloom our own way, and at the same time, the more enlightened people are trying to produce seeds of good fortune and beauty for the future. So that is one of the big reasons. The fact that you all just had that discussion is exactly the reason why I was like, I can't subscribe to one religion or the other. I have to have something that's
That was my
provable.
point. That's exactly my point.
Yeah, but it's just like David, just like our quote, David's like, I don't need that. And it's just like you and aliens. I don't need that, because it would be absurd to Donovan to think, well,
No,
why
I
would
never
we
said
be there?
aliens existed for sure.
Well, no,
I said
I'm
I
just
think they
saying.
do.
I'm just saying it would be
Yeah.
kind of a narcissistic thing to think we're in this big, huge, inconceivable universe by ourselves, and David's just restated yeah, I think it's very similar. You were both saying the same thing. Isn't it funny how God and aliens can both lead you into a heated conversation?
But that
I
was my
love that.
point. What you just said, David, I mean, Ken, is that's exactly my point, is that what you just said about he doesn't need proof. Like you said, the quote you said about, someone who with faith doesn't need proof or whatever. And that's my point about religion. And that's specifically what I was going in a roundabout way of saying, my long-winded way of always saying things, was saying that I agree with what you just said, is that I don't look at religion as being something that I could ever subscribe to myself for that exact reason. That it abandons logic. That's what I was trying to get at a minute ago. And so for someone who is religious, they say, well, I don't need proof. Even if you have all the proof in the world of a particular issue to someone who's highly, highly religious or evangelically religious or whatever, then it doesn't matter, because they always say, oh no, because I have my faith. I have my faith. I have my faith.
But the thing that gets me, and the thing that I find to be the most interesting, is that people who are devout in their faith would say, I don't need evidence, I don't need evidence. And this goes for Islamic or Christian or Judaism, whatever.
Yeah.
But the minute you find proof, that's when proof is important. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't need it until they find it for...
you mean for it to help support their side of the story?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. But I think that's true with everybody. That's why I said that's like a blanketed statement that is true.
Well, it's not true for me, because
for people who are devout in a particular religion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's true. And I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it per se. I mean, you're welcome to have whatever belief you want because it's a free country. But I'm just saying, when it comes to religious beliefs, this is why I am not a religious person. This is why I don't believe in religion per se, and why I have my own ideas about what I think is the truth, or quote unquote the truth. So that's the difference.
But Donovan, you said you had studied Kabbalah, that you had studied it. So I want to ask you
here somewhere.
I want to ask. I do too. I spilled coffee on it back in like 2004 or something like that. Anyway, but I kept it. I wanted to know if you went in and bought the string. Did you buy the string?
I did buy this red string, yeah.
How was that not the most expensive piece of yarn you have ever? I bought the string too, and when
I got it, like $30 or something
for yarn. I could go to Michael's and get yarn.
But it was a nice piece of yarn.
No, I can go to Wally World and pick up a piece of yarn for $5.
No, I agree.
I'll make you a scarf. I'll make you a scarf out of what I have left. It's the holidays,
and the whole point of that was supposedly to ward off the evil eye, which is part of Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah is all about light and becoming one of the light. But yeah, and like I said, every religion has its good points, every religion has its bad points. that's why I can't subscribe to it, is because it doesn't make sense to me personally.
So would you say that you have more of like a humanistic perspective of you, or
humanist?
More of a humanist thing? Do you think that religion, and David, I'll ask you the same thing. Do you think that religions are going to become this universal humanist idea, so that's like a blanketed religion for all to come to? Or
I don't think we'll ever all have the same religion ever.
But
I think no.
What do you think, David? Because isn't that also in Revelations that there would be like
one, like, I know there's, I don't want to have that Revelation script. That's a long discussion, but
yeah.
Me,
I didn't know if I could remember that correctly though.
For me, and I think, what do you say, humanistic? I think if you're a Christian and you're doing what you're supposed to do, it's humanistic to me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it, like I say, if you take all the supernatural, I said this earlier in the conversation, you take all the supernatural elements away from it.
It's just a good way. Well, it's a good guideline to how you treat others.
When you say humanistic, what do you mean? You mean humanist or humanistic meaning human? What do you mean? What are you trying to say?
Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Because are you talking about what I was saying and what I am as a humanist, more of a humanist? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Humanist.
Well, let me explain what humanism is. Humanism, actually, what it means is it means that you don't believe that there, and so this is why it's not anything like Christianity. It doesn't mean you believe that even if there is a God or whatever, there was a God, there is a God, whatever, that he, she, it, whatever, does not get involved in human affairs. It doesn't help you win a football game or win the lotto or whatever. I mean, you're here and whatever happens, happens for the most part. But you don't need God in order to know what's right and wrong. You don't need God in order to know not to murder people, steal from people, hurt people, lie to people, whatever. You can figure that out as a human being on your own without having to have some supernatural power control you or tell you how to be through dogma. So that's what a humanist is. And so when you said it was similar to being a humanist, I don't think it is.
I mean, human. I'm from a I guess
human
more of a
perspective. You just mean like
human
being a human,
perspective.
like a humanitarian, like a nice human
Exactly,
being. Yeah.
A good way to
exactly.
treat each other,
Right.
you know? Yeah.
Because but you said that God's not sitting around watching everything we do.
No, I don't believe that.
If you're a Christian, and I don't believe you can ask God to win a football game to win the
Don't
lottery.
you hate that? Oh no, when
Hey,
they win the Grammy,
hey.
they win the Grammy. First, I want to thank God up
Yeah,
above.
okay,
Well,
okay. But now,
well,
do you
I
ask
think
anybody who goes to
for me that I
anybody
don't have
who?
a problem with that. Unless you're out here doing everything in the world, and then the first person you say is God ain't stepped to church in your life. I have an issue with that.
Mhm.
But um, for me, I, I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you said
It's
God's
just
not sitting around watching you all the
Yeah,
time.
because he said you can't be selfish in your prayers.
I
You
remember
can't
that
be,
as a kid.
yeah,
My
you
grandma
can't
said,
be
"Don't pray
selfish
for
in your,
things that like stuff." She's like, "Don't do that."
yeah. I want good health, but
Yes.
if that was the case, everybody be walking around here healthy. That's not the case. So,
Amen,
and
amen.
I think, but again, that's when people use their own intellect or perception to warp whatever religion they're using to fit them.
So you do believe
And
God answers some prayers, though,
I
or not?
I think he does. I think
Okay,
God answers some
because
prayers. I
I
think there's
always,
some prayers I have prayed, and it wasn't for anything
uh
physical.
huh,
It was more for discernment,
yes,
and then I got my answer. And whether it was the cosmos or whether it was God who I
right.
prayed to, I got my discernment. And then my history, and I'm not going to go into that either. There's certain things in my life to me that's made me believe that there is something more powerful than
Me
man
too.
that controls everything and is pushing me into the right direction. Because I think I told you the story. I'll make it real quick. When I was making the decision to move back here to Indiana, I didn't want to come. Regardless of my mother's, because her health at that time wasn't to where it is now.
Yeah.
And so I was ready to get a major promotion at my job. And then when all those doors were open, every single last door closed. And I had prayed about it because I knew I was going to have to make a decision, and I didn't want to make that decision. And so for me, God made the decision for me. This is where I want you. So he closed the door to the job. He closed the door with my anchors that were in Atlanta, my best friends. That relationship dissolved. It wasn't a healthy relationship anyhow. Anything that I tried to do, it did not work. But then when I made that decision to move back,
Hmm.
everything kind of fell in place. When
I
I came back
understand
home,
that.
I walked back into a job that I had 10 years ago.
Uh huh.
Walked back into it like it was nothing,
Right.
So that was the discernment that I need to make my faith stronger to where, okay, you're looking out for me. Did I ask for money? No, because I struggled. I struggled, and I was hurting because I went from making one amount to a different amount, but never missed a car payment, which the car could be paid off this month, yeah, and everything. So I didn't ask for that. He just gave it to me because he said, "Well, you don't need this extra. This is for me." But
So
I'm
you
on.
definitely believe that God is a presence in your life directing you. You believe that for
I,
sure. Obviously, you just said you
I
did.
think he lays some of the groundwork. I think he lets us
Well, you
make
said he
mess up.
closed the door, so you would
He
go
did. He
there.
did because I was trying to make my own
So he
decisions that
helped.
were
He
going to be good
does.
because he loves me. He wasn't going to let that happen
So
to
he
his.
does direct your life. That
In some ways, yes.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I was asking. That's what I just wanted to be clear about.
But
Yeah.
don't you both think that religion is just a really big way to segregate each other off?
I
Don't you
think that's.
think that
I
at the
don't
To
end
think
an
of
that's the
extent,
point. I don't think
at
that's the
the end
point
of
of
the
it.
day?
I
But I
think
mean,
that's
but
what
that's the
happens in the. I
result.
think that's what happens in the end. I don't think it's the point that people go
Right.
into it about. No.
Right. Yeah. Well, but I think a lot of people use it as, and it's like David said, a lot of people use it incorrectly. But I think that at this point, it's one of those things, it's one of those touchy subjects that just segregates nearly everyone.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Even gay people among ourselves, or people who are the same religion. Like if you're both two Baptists together, could have two very different views about what it means to be Baptist, or
Oh, yeah.
Methodist, or Presbyterian, or whatever, or Catholic. So it's very divisive, and that's one of the reasons I don't like it. And the whole point of religion, as I said, in my opinion, was initially was to control people, and that's why it rose up in the church in the medieval times and everything else, and that's why it was so powerful and all the money it had. It controlled kings and queens and blah 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 blah, and it controlled all the common people kept them in control. And that's why I don't believe in any of it. I think it's all just created and it's a bunch of bullshit. But that's just me.
Well, can I tell you about something I was confused about?
Sure.
I was confused because I was, like I said earlier, I was reared in a Baptist background, Christian background. And when I started reading the study, periodicals and things that are given to us in Nichiren Buddhism and in the Lotus Sutra, I came across the word demon and the word devil. I was so programmed to associate it with an external outside of me force that I almost turned completely away from it, because I was like, why would I go and chant in front of a Gohonzon which lists these demons and devils on the very lowest row? Why would I do that? Because I don't want to focus and give respect to an object that has these things on it. And because I was so wrapped up in how I was reared, I was so I don't want to say brainwashed, because I went to a lot of those church functions of my own accord, but I could not get my head wrapped around the fact that what Buddha was saying was that there are demons and devils inside of each of us. Nobody is all one thing, and we all have the ability, just the same as we can be great Buddhists and caregivers and bodhisattvas, we can also be demonic forces where we suck the life out of each other.
Well, and because we're human.
Yeah, and they even segregate human off into its own separate life state.
Bizarre.
So to me, well, it really helps. It really does
to
help.
me, it's bizarre.
Well, but listen, like recently, you and I had a kind of a fallout thing, and it
Which time?
But it came to me. Well, I said recently. Lover, I said recently. I wasn't cataloging it. But I'm saying that it helped me because it was like, now, you know what? I was in a very human life state because I was sensitive. But at the same time, I was in a hell state or a hunger state, because I was so hungry to make something really beautiful out of this that it threw me for a complete loop. So the Buddhism was like really kind of a guideline to help me get my head back together and say, wait a minute, you may be these two different life states right now, but it is a choice away from you being a pleasant force in Donovan's life, and it's a choice away from you to be decent and kind and to get out of those life states of your own choice and to start for me to make choices and different decisions and different behaviors. So yeah, it sounds bizarre, but when you really get into it and practice it, for me, it's just like, it's worth having a separate room full of, separate water and cleaning and what do you call that, dogma, or what do you call that? Those, we said it earlier, something, different ways to rule your life where, I have a prayer room and nothing goes in that prayer room that's dirty, and nothing goes in that prayer room that's made from human. So all of that's worth it because it helps me to realize that, yeah, I'm completely okay with the fact that I'm human, and I'm completely okay with the fact that in that moment I was in a hell hunger state, but just the same way I got in it is the same way I can get out of it and start and reevaluate my behavior.
Well, that's what's great about having, and that's the good side of any. I still don't consider Buddhism a religion, but I know you do. That's fine.
I'm not really. No. I'm not really even sure if it's called a religion.
I mean, I really don't, because it's really more like when I was studying Kabbalah. It was really, even though Kabbalah definitely has religious undertones because it's really a Jewish sect type thing, but it was really more tools for the way to live your life, and it's similar to Buddhism in that way. And so that's why I don't consider it a religion. But yeah, whatever works for you, and even if whatever works for David's got his beliefs, and he and I definitely don't agree, and whatever they are for him, if it works for him in his life, that's great. And I don't begrudge anybody their religion. I'm just trying to have a discussion so we can understand each other better. And I think that I think that among the three of us, I think, David's very devout Christian. You're a very devout Buddhist, and I'm a very devout anti-religious personality. And so I just think that we all have our states of belief, and that's what's great. We can talk about it. But I do want to say one more thing, though, that when it comes to religion, I know in my soul and my heart, I do believe we have souls. I don't know how else to explain it. I do believe that we are, as I said earlier, all connected, and I don't think that we are alone per se, as in terms of just I don't believe in atheism. This is the reason I can't go to atheism. I know I'm not going to ever be some religious person, and I'm never going to be an atheist, because atheists believe absolutely nothing exists, that we just are here randomly and somehow we just popped up, and I don't know. I don't to make any sense to me. When I talk about irrationalism, that's irrational, just as irrational to me to think that we just popped out of nowhere as it is to think that some big ass guy is up on a throne with a long white beard looking at us, okay? So it's the same thing to me. They're the same thing. And so I find it very difficult to be either one, and I never will be. So I'm stuck somewhere in the middle where I have a spirituality, and I consider myself a spiritual person.
Well, but I was just going to say, and I think I've said that to you before, that you sound to me like the person who is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're more of a spiritual being in a human experience as opposed to being a human on a spiritual path. You are a spiritual being on a human path. You're experiencing different human lives and this, that, and the other to grow as a spirit. You know what I mean?
Right, to evolve, right.
Yeah,
And I do believe that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. David, do you have anything you want to say or add to the rest of the discussion?
I have two more.
Yes, sir.
No, you know how you said that we would be naive to think that we're the only thing in the universe. If you remember the movie, was it Men in Black at the very end? And there's always been a image I always have in my mind about how I feel about the universe among ourselves, outside of ourselves. And there's a very, at the very end of the first movie, there's you see the center of the universe, which includes us. Then it branches out and it's more stuff. Then it branches out. Then there's more stuff. Then all of a sudden, the whole thing gets picked up.
Yes,
it's a kid's marble.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's a very powerful image. And whoever, I don't know who did the movie, that's to me is very intelligent. Yes, totally.
Brilliant.
And I like that. So what you just when you said that, that's what popped in my head. I'm like, that's the marble, the aliens marble that's playing with us and just kind of tosses around because we're nothing in the grand scheme of things.
No, that's so true. That's so true.
And secondly, this is for Ken. Just to backtrack just a little bit.
Oh no!
I know you're a ghost hunter, and I am too. I like that kind of stuff and demons. So if you, I guess you had to prescribe in that theory, and that's kind of based in religious connotations. How did you apply that to the whole Buddhist thing?
Well, because energy is never created nor destroyed, so you continue on. Your spirit in whatever life state it is in continues on. So there's one.
Do you believe in an ultimate evil?
Yeah, but I think it's no further than you and me. I think that's where ultimate evil lies. If you find anything more evil than a human being, I don't want to see it.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, that I was in a hunger state because I so badly wanted for something to work out. I think sometimes when you die, you carry on in a certain life state, and that's where you get hunger spirits and this, that, and the other. Or you die and you're in a demonic spirit where you feel like you need to latch on and suck the life force out of the living beings just so that you can exist, or that kind of thing. So that's my response to that. Do you like? I mean, does that sound weird? Does that sound hooky?
No, I was just curious.
Yeah, but because I was worried. I was thinking about that because, like you said, I'm a really big paranormal nut.
Yeah, and that sometimes paranormal stuff is kind of based in religious and how we see demons.
Yeah, and I love The Conjuring. You all know I love The Conjuring, but it seems like every time there is a haunted house, the first thing they all say is, "Well, you need an exorcism," and I'm like. Now, why is it always a Christian exorcism? That one movie where there was the possession, where it was like a Jewish exorcism. I appreciated that movie because it was one of the first movies.
Wasn't a Christian.
It wasn't a Christian exorcism, but I'm like in Buddhism. I don't. Now this may not know this to be true. I have not once found an exorcism. I've not once found an exorcism because it just seems like they say it is your choice. And there's science now that says that, epilepsy or schizophrenia and all these other things take a big part of it. But I even asked a Catholic priest. I was at Scarefest. And listen, I'm going to ramble on. I'll make it really quick. There was a Catholic priest that was doing a seminar regarding exorcism. He played videos of exorcisms that he had done. He had night vision cameras of people that had been haunted by incubi or succubi, And at the end of it, he said, "Do you all have any questions?" And the room was completely packed. And I stood up and I said, "Yeah, I just want to know where all this came from. You know, I want to know why it seems like everything has to be battled out with a particular religion. Why is it? Why is it? My religion doesn't even say that there are demons that are external or trying to have sex with you, like a succubus, a woman demon that has, like Lilith, she had sex with men to drain their life force." And he was just like, I don't have an answer for that. And I was just kind of floored because I thought it was his bread and butter. It's his livelihood. It's what he does. Why wouldn't you know? Because why is it Buddhism is the only one that doesn't have an exorcism, a ritualistic exorcism? And that's where I came to find out, and I did some research about it, and that it's all the spirit life state that you are in at the time, and it is the spirit life state of energies that have passed on before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can prescribe to that.
Yeah. But there's something about my religion that I say religion because that's the easiest way to say it. My spiritual life path. That people, you know what I mean? So there's one thing that a lot of people are always like, "Oh, you chant. You belong to that group that says that you can chant for anything. You can chant and you'll get a car. You can chant and you'll get a new house. Or you can chant and get this." And that is something that I really want to clarify for people, is that this particular practice is nothing like that. If you want something, you go get it. And in order to achieve great things, you must do great things. And if you fail at that, you will reap the benefits as such. You will not escape your karmic retribution, whether it be good, bad, or otherwise. And the practice only allows you clarity enough to see the potential for what you can do. And a lot of people, even people on Kim Boggle Talk, will email and they'll say, you belong to that really hooky cult where you can pray and chant for an hour and you suddenly get a brand new house. And I'm like, no, totally different.
Well, I think that's the issue too. People don't actually get to know religions, and they judge them, they prejudge them. And so if you actually, like, with us, the three of us, we obviously all know about the Christian religion because we were raised as such. But a lot of people don't know about Buddhism. A lot of people don't know about Islamic religions, in America specifically, and even Judaism to some degree. And so they think, oh, this is what they believe, and oh my God, they're so weird, they're so strange. Yeah. But really, once you get into a religion, you get to know it. Sometimes it can still be strange to you and weird, yes, but it also may become something that reveals itself to you and you believe in. So you can't just judge something because it's different, and that's what annoys me. If you don't know what you're talking about, that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, but I'm guilty of that.
Most people are.
I'm guilty of it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so that's the religious questions. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about religion tonight on the show as we wrap up?
I do.
Yes, sir. Speak.
Oh, boy.
Amen.
Oh, he blessed us, Donovan. We were blessed.
I gotta go get some.
I gotta mute my microphone. I gotta mute my microphone.
Some cross or some crucifix or something, and break it. I don't know.
Sinning queen. And I'm like,
David, Donovan's head is spinning. There's
you know what I hate more than anything. David, you should have said, "I'll pray for you," because I hate that. Oh my God, I will pray for you. Or bless your heart. I will pray for you.
Myself, I don't know what anybody else means.
But I think that is actually really just a word for saying I'm going to send goodness in your direction, because
that reminds me. I'm glad you said that, because let me quickly say this. A friend of mine from high school, she today on Facebook, she posted, she said, "Those of you who pray, please pray for my friend. She has cancer, blah blah blah." And I don't pray, obviously, but what I do, it's really the same thing. It's just I call it something else. And so praying to me, it kind of denotes religion, right? Obviously, you're praying to God, blah blah blah. But for me, as I've told you all before, if you've listened to my show before, which you probably haven't, but anyway, my husband, before I met him, I sat down, I was listening to this song, I was lying down actually, I was listening to this song called Has to Be by Madonna, and I was sitting listening to it, and I just had, oh my God, so many, just tired of men, tired of it all, I just wanted to fucking just go the fuck away, and I was crying and everything else, and I was saying, God, all I want is this, all I want is this, and this, and this. I literally listed out exactly what I wanted in man, and I swear to God, there he came. There he comes. And so that's why I know if you want to call that prayer, you can. If you want to call that praying to God, that's fine.
Yeah.
But to me, all I was doing was sending out energy. I was sending out energy to the universe, saying, "This is what I want," and the universe brought it to me. So that's the same thing. It's just I call it whatever I call it, meditation, I guess, and he calls it prayer.
Yeah. But that's the, like, what do you call that? Semantics, where you
Exactly.
It's just a difference. Just
Yes. But I don't want to be called the prayer person because I'm not going to pray to anything.
Right. But it's like when you got sick, like I said to you, like, I'm chanting for your health. Just because I think the exact same way that the energy is malleable. Is that the word malleable? Like you can affect it, you can send it and move it and things like that.
It literally is. There's actually studies, by the way.
Yeah.
And there's these things I've seen on the Learning Channel and other shows, documentaries, and things like that, where people literally use their thoughts. I'm not kidding you. Their thoughts to move things and shit like that. I mean, not just telekinesis, but I mean like typing shit on a fucking computer. I'm not kidding, okay? and they were thinking, like, they had tests where they had people thinking positive thoughts in front of a plant and people thinking negative thoughts in front of a plant. The plant that had negative people thinking at it died. And
Mythbusters did something like that.
Yes, and so these things, it's true. That's what I was saying.
Didn't they bust the myth, though?
No, they didn't bust the myth.
No, there was...
There's no busting the myth. There's no busting the myth because the myth is no myth. It is true.
I would be watching this, and
we are all connected, is my point, and that's what I was trying to say earlier. And why are we all connected? Because we are all energy. What is energy? Energy is what we all are made of. It's light. It's everything. And so, as I said before, you can't destroy it. You can't, as also Ken said, you can't destroy it. You can't create it. It's always there, and it's all connected. And so, if we're all literally connected, it makes sense that we can control our destiny, or not destiny, but our life or whatever, our surroundings through thought and how things happen to people. And as Ken was saying, when he was sending out, he was chanting, and he believes in that as well, that can actually help change the outcome of things. And I believe that to be true. And so
just because you muster so much energy, you muster so much. You all have seen the Tina Turner video on Larry King. I mean, when you push yourself to do it as like with such conviction, it literally sends off energy. My friend Patty Starr, she took one of those she is like an energy specialist. She took one of those electromagnetic thingies, and she said, I need you to be completely calm. She did this to me and to my partner separately. And, completely clean yourself, be as non-active as possible. And she went over us, and the machine, the thing did not react at all. It did not detect any sort of energy. When she said, now I need you to muster your energy. And she took the thing, the electromagnetic thing, and that sucker would go berserk. It would go berserk.
Yeah,
and it was just
science,
so
though.
perfect.
That's not really anything.
What do you think we are? We are.
That's what I'm saying. We're in. We have, but everybody has currents that's going through their bodies.
That's all we're saying.
That energy. It's that
y'all
energy.
act like it's some kind of big. I want to watch that television show.
You don't think that it's a big deal that we're all connected by energy?
I want to call Professor X tomorrow and see if I can get y'all signed up to the X-Men.
I am serious. No, I'm serious.
Stop being funny.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well then.
Oh, okay.
LOL then. LOL.
Sorry, just kidding.
that was sarcasm.
No, yeah. No, I think that, I mean, to me, that it's not that it's just that it's science. Yes, it's science, but science is everything. I'm sorry, it is. I mean, to me. And there's energy, if you want to call what we pray or whatever, you're praying to God, whatever you're praying to is also energy. I don't care if you call it God or something else. He, it, she, what the fuck ever it is energy. So it's made of energy. Everything is made of it. So it's still science, even if you're praying to somebody or something. So I'm sorry you don't think of it that way, but that's how I see it.
Well, I think maybe before we go, we should say something about Nelson Mandela.
Yes,
because
Nelson Mandela passed away today at 95, right? 95?
Yeah. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't say something about it. And I think that although I don't agree with Obama, what he did say about Nelson Mandela being now he belongs to the ages, I think he'll go down as one of the most compassionate people, having gone through what he went through. He really made a human revolution toward ending violence with kindness. And I think that he will be missed, and the world feels somewhat sadder and it reminds me of when Mother Teresa passed. Just that even though you didn't agree with them 100%, man, you can sure tell they're gone. And, rest in peace. That's it.
Okay, then. Nice of you to say that.
I mean, we had to. I mean, Nelson Mandela, it's a historical thing.
Yes, it is.
Well, we want to be the
historical.
only podcast that doesn't mention Nelson
Oh,
Mandela.
trust
Something
me.
Earlier, I had a music show and I mentioned something earlier.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
There's going to be
I'm
plenty
so-
of people I could name that would not be mentioning anything about Nelson Mandela. Trust me. Anyway, but yes, I'm glad you did, Ken. That was nice of you. So anyway, guys, that's our show about religion. We had our discussion. So whatever you think, if you want to comment on the show, you can always go to Spreaker.com, and under the show, there's a comments box. You can comment there. You can comment also on our website, thecruiseshow.net, and you can comment there. You can comment on Twitter, the Cruise Show _ is that right? The crew _ show, I think is what it is, on Twitter. And we're also on Facebook. So please comment away. If you disagree with us, let us know so we can talk about you next time. Okay?
But be prepared for Donovan to rip you a new asshole.
I'm going to be a bitch. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Thanks for listening.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye, guys.